Hi, everyone. This is Shirley Farrar, and this is Encouragement on Fire. We are YouTube, 8 p.m. We are excited that we can continue to come into your homes, at your workplaces, wherever you are, and to be able to talk about chronic disease, how we overcome, how we are healed through faith, through our food. Faith without works is dead. So we're going to apply faith and works. It's really important that we have a balanced life. And this month is the month of June 2023. It is our podcast number 66. And we are talking about ALS. Yes, ALS. Now, usually I think they talk about it in the month of May, but we're talking about it in the month of June. And it is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. And it is also known as neuron disease, and it is fatal. Now, I'm a faith-based person, so I believe in God for healing. So if you are also a faith-based person and you are out there and you are battling ALS, I'm encouraged to join my faith with you that you will overcome and your life will be increased. So as always, in addition to our topic for the day, I am always going to do Encourage Minute. Okay, we are in Encourage Minute, and we are talking today about defeating cancer, sickness, and disease. And our topic for today are the most common places on the body that we should be aware of. If you're a woman or a man, you should be aware of these most common places on the body to look in regards to cancer. So today we're going to talk about breast cancer, and that could be in a woman or a man. And, estimated new cases for breast cancer is 276,480 new cases of invasive breast cancer in women and 2,620 cases in men. And this number is always increasing, okay? Most of the time it's increasing. So we have to make sure that we are looking at this. Breast cancer is a huge deal. All cancer is a big deal, but breast cancer affects our communities in the United States. And, I like to go back to the history. So in 1913, there was a mammogram study, and there was a German surgeon, Albert Salomon. And this study was based on 3,000 mastectomies. So you know what that is, removal of the breast. But there was a reason. There's always a reason why we have to study something, because we're trying to better something for our individuals, for our women. We're trying to better something so you will have better health. And so it wasn't until the 1960s. See, that's a long time, 1913 to 1960, where there was an additional study that led to, mammograms being a part of our everyday or yearly annual, recommended thing that they recommended for all of us. So I'm saying to you, in 1976, see, it took even another decade, 1976, for a wonderful organization to say, the mammograms that they suggested to you in 1960s, right, next 1966, we're saying to you, this was the American Cancer Society. I would say they put their foot down and they said, listen, based on our research, we're saying to every woman out there, men, depending on your diagnosis or your side effects, things that are happening in your body, we're saying to you that every woman should get a mammogram annually. And it was recommended by the American Cancer Society. So I have to say to the American Cancer Society, thank God for you. Thank God for all the people who did the research that said this is something that is needed, is necessary. And look at how many lives have been saved. So one of the things that I like to do is when we're talking about, something as evasive as breast cancer, let's look at how to detect it. because a lot of times we ignore the symptoms. Remember, symptoms are really important. Our doctors are telling us, write it down. What are your symptoms? What are your side effects? So then they can better diagnose you. Well, one of them is breast lumps. So whether you are a man or woman, if you are having lumps in your breast, you need to talk to the doctor. You should talk to the doctor. As far as females, even beyond breastfeeding, if you're having some changes in your nipple area, and remember, we're talking about beyond breastfeeding, but there's some changes going on. There's the dimpling in your breast. I have had classmates, I've had when we were growing up, individuals, they had dimpling in their breasts. We never knew what that was. Even as we're getting older, you're in your 20s, your 30s. I've had young ladies that were my friends. These things were happening to them, and they had no idea that this could be breast cancer or lead to breast cancer. The swollen breasts, are you getting peeling on your breast, like an orange peeling? Those type of things you should be looking for. And also, there is a very common under the arm lump. Now, a lot of times people ignore that lump under the arm. I've had many friends who had the lump under their arm. Now, God forbid it was cancer, but several of them, it was a cyst. But we all know that it starts out sometimes as a cyst. It starts out benign, but it can lead to cancer. Do not hesitate. Go see your doctor. Find out, what is this? What stage is it in? If it's not cancer, what can I do about it? They have a plan for you, and you need to really go see your doctor and talk to them, a nurse practitioner. Reach out to someone that knows something about this topic, and they can better serve you. Also, if you're getting, like I said, nipple discharge. Now, let me tell you, if we're talking about, breastfeeding, we're not talking about that. We're talking about there's some differences, and you're not breastfeeding a child. We're talking about discoloration. There's some other colors coming out from that. You need to see a doctor immediately. Now, I know a lot of times we walk alone, we think that we're so strong. And I'm saying to you, well, good for you that you think that you're so strong. But even strong people have people that help them, to get to the next step. We all have mentors, we all have supervisors, we all have leaders over us that help us in our jobs, in life. So why not in your health? I encourage you today, reach out, make your life accountable to someone else, in your health accountable, your eating habits accountable, your exercise accountable to other people. This is important. You are important. Also, if you are having breast or nipple pain, now I'm saying to you, this is men and women. And I'm talking to the women. I'm not talking about if you're breastfeeding. That comes with the territory. That's normal. But I'm talking about you're not breastfeeding, you're having pain. Men or women, go see your doctor. Nipple retraction, where it's inward. I've had a friend that happened to her. And I'm saying to you, doesn't mean it's cancer. What I'm saying is, go and talk to your doctor about it and see what's going on. And also red itchiness, if your breasts are itching all the time, this type of things. And it's not because of some other type of skin irritation. It's because of something you are not aware of. See, it's one thing if the doctor diagnosed you with something else because you were giving them, him or her, the information on your side effects or what's been going on with your skin. That's different. But if you have not gone to see a doctor and you are having this red, itchy skin irritation, you really should reach out to them, because you never know. It could be the onset of something, not cancer yet, and you could stop it in its tracks. Okay? So I just want to encourage you, if you have any of those symptoms, please reach out to your doctor to avoid, to eliminate, to stop breast cancer coming into your path. Okay? Okay, so today we are talking about ALS in the month of June 2023, and it's also known motor neuron disease. And it's called amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Now, I want you to know that the lifespan of someone who is diagnosed with ALS is considered fatal. Okay? But I don't want you to think, you've been diagnosed with ALS and there's no hope for you. That is not true. There are stages of ALS, and we're talking today about stage 1. That's the beginning stage. And that's why when you start getting symptoms, or if it runs in your family, and, because there's 2 ways that ALS is diagnosed, because it's hereditary. And then the second way is that it's one of those things that it's an onset, it's a mutation. It just happens based on something that's going on in you, and it just comes out. So it could be one of those things. You may not have had people in your family, or you just didn't know that there were people diagnosed with ALS in your family. Okay. But you need to know going into this, that is the diagnosis that the doctors give. That is fatal. However, they diagnose people 2 to 5 years. Then there's some 5 to 10 years. And then there's some, they get beyond that amount of years. So the earlier detection, the better, because there is medication that can slow it down. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I would say it's diagnosed 40 and 70 with an average age of 55. So if you're 55 or older, you may start seeing some of these symptoms if that is something that is happening to you. Okay. It's 20% more common in men than it is in women. I would have thought it was the opposite, but it's not. It's men than women. And for every 100,000 people, 2 people, the doctors will diagnose that they have ALS. Now, you may know about ALS because of some famous individuals in the past. So there was Stephen Hawking, who was a famous physicist. There is also Lou Gehrig. He's a great baseball player. And all of these individuals were diagnosed and they have passed on. There was also the SpongeBob SquarePants creator, Steven Hillenburg, and then the Sesame Street creator, John Stone. Now, some people think that Christopher Reeves also had ALS, but he did not. He had I believe, a horse. He fell off a horse and there was an accident, but he supported ALS. So he contributed to finding out in regards to neuron disease, which is really a good cause to be a part of. Now, myself and Pastor Darrell were a part of raising money in the past for the ALS through some other organizations. Like there was the challenge online. They pouring the water on individuals. So we decided that in this month of June, we are going to participate in that again. Even though the water challenge is not going on right now amongst everyone, we said we were going to do that. And so if you are watching and you donate money, our website down below, and you put on there for ALS, when you donate the month of June, all that money is going to be donated to the ALS organization or foundation. Okay, so I just want you guys to know that we are going to do it on camera. I think we're going to want to do that and show you guys again, because we did it in the past. I think I jumped up a little bit too soon, but we are going to do that again. Just bear with us, okay, as we're talking about the different stages this month. Just keep me in mind, because cold water, I do not like. Whew, cold water. All right. But also, if an individual is going to be diagnosed with ALS, now I'm saying this to you because it's important that when you have symptoms of any kind, you should start going to see the doctor immediately, and then they will tell you to create a log, so then they can also go with you throughout your progress. But it takes 9 to 12 months for someone to be diagnosed with ALS. If that is the case, you should start as soon as you start getting some of those symptoms. If it's nothing, that's wonderful. But at least now you have started the log, and, if it is something, they can counter it quickly. And that is important with any cancer, or when someone's getting ready to do a biopsy to see if something is cancerous. It's important. So anytime there is a biopsy or cancer related anything, they're going to do a biopsy, and you want them to do it sooner than later. Okay, so that's why we go to see the doctor as fast as we can whenever we're getting symptoms. So it's really good to know your family history, because you want to be on top of all of these things as soon as possible. Okay, so today we're just basically going to talk about the stages of ALS. So there is the beginning stage that we're going to talk about today, some of the symptoms. There is the middle, right? Middle stage. There is the late stage, and then there is the ending stage. And remember, we said that they diagnose it as a fatal chronic disease. So we want to make sure that if anyone's out there, you want to make sure you go to the doctor ASAP, because you don't have to be diagnosed with 2 to 5 years. You don't have to be diagnosed with 5 to 10. You can have a longer lifespan, on the medication. But like I said, I'm a faith-based person, so I believe in God for your healing, and also eating right, and also exercising to also help your extended life, because God says in his word that he gives us a long life, and you can stand on the promises of the Lord to have long life, but you got to do the work. Faith without works is dead. Okay. All right. So stage 1, the beginning. All right. There are several changes that is happening in your muscles. That's the key, in your muscles, as well as your physical appearance. That's the definition of the ALS, the beginning stage. So what are the early symptoms? Just like we just talked about the breast cancer symptoms, you need to know what the ALS symptoms are in the beginning stage. So those symptoms are: individuals' muscles begin to twitch in their arm, their leg, their shoulder, and their tongue. Now, sometimes we see symptoms as, oh, it's just something that's happening to me and it's not a big deal. But if you have people in your family that have been diagnosed with ALS, you should take this really serious, because you can fight things. You can receive your healing. You can maintain a healthy, long life. However, you need to know something as early as possible, because remember, there is constant research. Doctors and researchers are doing research all the time. And you don't know if tomorrow they find a cure, right? So what if you're the person that they just diagnosed and they said, you have a minimum 10 years because we got it so early. And even though it's a fatal sentence, I'll say that, because you got to keep it real. You got to say, okay, this is what they saying. However, next year they find a cure. It's no longer a fatal sentence anymore, because now you have what you did not have last year. So the sooner we find out about something, the better. So run to your doctors when you know you have a history in your family. Stay, in good communication. We talk about good communication in our families and with our friends. You should have good communication with your doctor. You should know your family doctor, the number. You should know specialists, because you have history in your family. Don't wait until, well, I know that's a history in my family, but I don't think I need to deal with that because I don't have that, or I don't, I know a lot of times people say, well, I'm believing God, I don't have to have that issue. Well, that's wonderful. I'm with you. I believe God too. I will never have any of those health related issues. However, you live in a body in the earth, and sometimes there's things that you're going to encounter, but you still can get your healing. I still believe that. Even if you have to work with the doctors and they're working with you, right? And you're communicating well with them and they're diagnosing you and you're having those good conversations. When we avoid seeing the doctor, we avoid letting them know the things that are going on with us. When we avoid those type of things, how can they possibly help you? And then they talk to us and say, well, if you had come 3 years ago, this would have been a different prognosis. Why do that when listen, it's different if you don't have insurance and you're unable to go to the hospital or the doctor's office. But if you're not in that situation, see, I understand that. And then there are resources in the community for individuals who do not have those services. Okay. But I'm talking to the individuals right now. You had those services. You live in the United States and there is health insurance for you. There's no reason for you never to go to the doctor when there is a situation. You matter. You matter to your family and your friends. And it's important that you take care of yourself. Work will always be there. Other things will always be there. And if they're not, we want to make sure that you're there. You can always begin again. We want to make sure that you're there. Okay? You matter. So some of the symptoms, we said that was the muscle twitching, but it's also muscle cramps. If you're getting cramps and you don't know what the reason is, I'm not talking about you're low on potassium, because remember, if you're going back to see the doctor's going to let you know, you're low on potassium, you're low on this. So of course, if you're low on these different things, you're going to get cramping. But why are you cramping? Sometimes you're taking other medications. That has happened to me before. I was on a medication and I was getting cramping and I was like, what is going on? I read the side effects from the medication and it said cramping. That makes sense. But I also still told my doctor. And then my doctor adjusted my prescription. See how that works? And then guess what? Cramping goes away. Or sometimes it doesn't. And the doctor says, I'm going to need you to take more potassium and additional, supplement. See, you normally don't need those supplements, but the supplements come in handy when you work with the doctor and the blood, your blood tests. So I'm just saying, see how all these things, remember my faith-based people, Romans 8:28, all these things work together for your good. You're good. Okay. We sometimes we're so in the faith, sometimes we're so spiritual, like we're like, oh, I don't need to do any of those things. But clearly God said faith without works was dead. So we have to do these things. You live in a body, you're a spirit, you still live in a body. You have to take care of the body that you live in. Okay. And then there is tight and stiff muscles. So if you're noticing that your muscles are locking up on you and you don't know the reason. Now, I'm not talking about, you did exercise, you're overworked, your muscles are stiff because you work in construction or you work in very strenuous jobs, or, I'm not talking about those type of things. I'm talking about your muscles are tightening up. You have no clue why that's happening. You're taking a hot bath and it's not working. You are, icing down your muscles, and these things are still happening, and you don't know the cause of it. You don't know the cause. See, if you are one of those people, you work 11 hours a day, 12 hours a day, and you're always on your feet, and you're wondering why your muscles are hurting. Well, that may be the reason. Talk to your doctor about it. They'll tell you to cut back on some things if you're able to, and then your body should adjust. If your body is not adjusting, you should talk to your doctor. And you should get a plan on what are we going to do about this? Is this something that I'm not aware of? And that's when the blood tests come in and they start to show some things that you need to look into. And also muscle weakness. It's going to affect your arms, your legs, your neck, your diaphragm. Come on. Any of those symptoms are happening and you're not going to see a doctor, then that's a misfortune, because clearly there's something wrong. And you could be a person that says, well, I'm just too busy to look into it. But if you're not here, if you're not here, how can your family continue to love you? How can your friends have their good friend around if you're not here? Life gets busy, but it's not that busy that we can't take care of ourselves and say, you know, I need to go get a massage. I need to go get my blood test from my doctor. I need to go and find out what's this on my skin, this whatever that is. I need to follow up. Just like we go to work and we contribute 8 to 10, maybe 12 hours a day. Some people, I don't encourage that. I tell you 7 hours a day is good to be in, working your for someone else. If you're working your own company, then I understand you may be doing 12 hours a day, because you have to get your business to where it needs to be, and that should only be for a season. See, we have wisdom. There's a wise counsel. There's principles that you should live by. And once you create those principles, that when I'm creating my business or I'm doing these different things, I'm going to live by this. Do not adjust and say, I have to do these things now, and then do them a long period of time. So if you're working 15-hour days for your business, something's wrong. And there's somebody out there, I'm talking to that person right now. I understand that you want to work your business because you want to be successful and you have a timeline, but you matter. And if you're working long hours and you're not getting enough rest, you're going to suffer some health issues. You may not see it today, but working those long hours and not getting sleep, because if you're working 15 hours a day, there are other things that you have to do, like eating, exercise. There's other things you have to do. And I'm not even naming a long list that you have to do. I'm saying to you, you're going to eventually suffer, and your health is going to suffer. And I don't want that for you. So you know who you are. I want you to look at that schedule, and I want you to adjust that schedule, because it's really important. You are important, and I want you to be here because I need you. Okay? I need you to be here, and you're my friend. So I'm talking to you. You know who you are. So back to the information we're talking about. Also, slurred and nasal speech. Now, some of us, and I have disclosed to you guys in the past, if I talk a certain way or I talk too fast, I do stutter. And that's something that has always been in my life, for me, since I was a child. I've learned how to slow down or to focus and to speak. But I'm saying to you, if that's not something you are aware of, then you should get that checked out. You can go to speech therapist. You can go see your family practitioner or nurse practitioner, and they can have you go and see a specialist. You need to find out, is there a reason this is happening if it was not happening before? See, it's one thing if that's something you've dealt with all your life, but if it's something that's onset, it just came about and it's not going away, or maybe it did come about, still should let your doctor know so they can be aware of it in case it happens again. They have a record of it, and so do you. Okay. And like I said, there are other symptoms, but these are the ones that they really highlight for you. And there is a drug for this particular ALS, and it is Rilutek, Rilutek. And I'm saying to you, the sooner that if you are diagnosed with ALS and you get on this particular drug or others that are coming up, that's what I'm saying. Remember, every day, new research, then it can delay. It delays the symptoms. It delays the onset of the next stage, right? So we have to think, if that's the beginning and the doctors diagnose it at your beginning stage, it's going to delay the middle, the late, the ending stages. And if they are able to delay that 2 to 5 or that 5 to 10, and you get a longer time. Think about that, a longer time. So if you are diagnosed now, remember, they said usually about 55 or over. So if you're diagnosed, even at 55 in the beginning stage, and now they're saying you'll have longer than 10. Well, now think about that. You're already in your 60s. But if you're diagnosed a little later than that, and they say that, you have a nice long life. So I'm saying to you, if it's in your family history and you have some of these symptoms, immediately you should contact your doctor. If you do not have these symptoms and you do not have this in your family, then you should not have a problem. However, you still should be going to your doctor, having your regular blood work done, seeing your doctor, giving them any of the symptoms, because just in case it's something that's a mutation that's coming up, they can then diagnose it early on. Okay. All right. So that's all we're going to talk about today for the ALS, the stage 1, the beginning stage. And next week, we're going to talk about as it progresses in some individuals and what you can do about it. Hopefully, there's some more information that I can grab, but I want to see what I can come up with so we can talk about it and see if I can provide you some additional examples as we're speaking, because this is really something that, you know, when you have fatal chronic diseases, remember, most of the things that we've been talking about, they can be fatal, but when they're diagnosed, most of the time the doctor doesn't say, this is fatal, you will not recover. In ALS, they usually say that, but the research, the medication has been delaying it. Remember I said, the earlier you get to the doctor about these matters, you never know if the research is coming out and they have a cure for it coming up. And now you are good and you have a long, long life. Okay. So I am Shirley Farrar. This has been Encouragement on Fire. And I am so thankful that you joined me this evening. And I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.